And in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter. And he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet, part of iron, and part of clay. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, forasmuch as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, forasmuch as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay.
Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people and a strong, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face the people shall be much pained, all faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded.
The Cube 552 facility in Canada, in Nelson, there was a lot of Nazi psychiatry conditioning going on there.
What sort of, when you talk about conditioning?
Well, for instance, at the facility, they were. It was essentially a trauma centre. Now, they did a lot of conditioning with us with wild animals, and what they were doing there, they used Canadian wolves, they used snakes, they used cats, wild cats, tigers and things. They were giving us the attributes of wild animals.
Andy described how his mind was split through trauma, electroshock, and sophisticated mind programming techniques. He told us about his training in Silva mind control as a young boy and how he was able to do extraordinary human feats under mind control programming, such as jumping off high buildings without injury, hence the nickname Superman.
The origin is Genesis 3, the serpent saying to Eve, "Ye shall be as gods," and that whole concept spun, I think, what the mystery religions are throughout the centuries.
The transhumanist movement seeks to transcend the limits of human biology through the use of genetics, robotics, artificial intelligence.
This technology is not brand new. It's been around for 70, 80 years. We certainly saw it in Nazi Germany, the attempt to engineer the Übermensch, or the Superman. And so there's a great history of, and of course I argue it goes all the way back to Lucifer, the snake in the garden, talking about the fact that he would promise immortality, enlightenment, and wisdom to humanity if they would just serve him.
Now, many people would argue, in fact some of the students did, that this is a good thing, that in fact my eyeglasses would constitute a transhumanist piece of technology, that the artificial knee that my father had would be transhuman. But there's a difference. That's a medical procedure intended to enhance the life that we have here on this earth. It is not, as the transhumanists seek, a means to achieve immortality.
Yes, we are going to become gods. Period.
Technological development, which appears to be the most worldly of activities, is in actuality an otherworldly project, rooted in the Christian notion of redemption, the restoration of original perfection. And the story, which is a peculiarly Christian one, is the story of the fall of Adam and the promise of a recovery of Adam's original divinity. Richard Seed, who announced rather defiantly that he was going to clone human beings, went on to the radio and the television, and this is what he said. And I have a tape of this. He said to the whole world,
God made man in his own image. God intended for man to become one with God. We are going to become one with God. Cloning and the reprogramming of DNA is the first serious step in becoming one with God.
San Diego is home to synthetic genomics, which is revolutionizing biotechnology research by advancing genomics to better life. Founded by world-renowned researchers Craig Venter and Hamilton Smith, our expert team of scientists, engineers, and bioinformaticians develop synthetic biology reagents, instruments, informatics tools, and services for our customers and partners, enabling them to research, develop, and commercialize groundbreaking solutions for better sustainability and improved human health.
SGI was started based on the notions that we wanted to know if we could design and build a synthetic version of a cell to really understand the basis of life.
SGI DNA is a group of incredibly creative and innovative people who work on pushing the limits of synthetic biology.
We're narrowly focused on developing products that collapse workflows and make sure that those workflows are more efficient for our customers so that they can get to their end product faster than any other company can provide.
The BioXP 3200 is a system that we've developed over the last couple of years that allows companies to make their own DNA in their own labs under their own schedules.
As it evolves and customers see the potential of it, more and more people will see that printing their own DNA is the way to go.
The ability to create synthetic genomes is going to enable new drugs that we've never been able to see before.
This is a fantastic time to be doing this kind of science and working on these kinds of
Transhumanists, they're
applications.
utopians. They believe we can live forever. We can have immortal life without the bother of having to ask Jesus to give it to us. We can upload our brains. We can live forever inside artificial intelligence systems. There's a great deal that the transhumanist community believes, but when it comes to genetics, when it comes to kind of repeating what happened in the days of Noah, where these fallen angels corrupted bloodlines, they believe that we can improve our species, open new modes of perception. By blending ourselves with animals, we might even be able to see into the supernatural realm.
Okay,
and among the transhumanists, they aspire to do that.
Who is DARPA and what are they doing?
DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. It's one of the large departments of the U.S. that uses our tax dollars to hire other people to come up with great ideas, private laboratories, things like that. But in last year's operating budget and in this year's operating budget, for instance, they have set aside millions of dollars for rewriting the DNA of our soldiers. Almost like a virus that could introduce a new genetic code to rewrite your genetic makeup. And some people believe that perhaps that's how the mark of the beast will alter humans so that they're no longer redeemable by literally going through their system and rewriting their genetic makeup. There are departments in the U.S. government like the National Institute of Health. That's the largest one in the U.S. that doles out your money for health-related science and research. And right now, they are giving grants to universities that are actually developing the legalese, the language that will be used for extending, for instance, constitutional rights to human non-humans.
Transhumanism tries to sell you on the concept of abandoning humanity altogether. They want you to become what is known as a post-human. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to keep up in the new society.
But I think when implants become more acceptable, as they are becoming bit by bit, so such people, the humanists that want to stay human, the Terrans maybe, as Hugo would call them, I can't see them ultimately having much power, because at the end of the day their intellectual capabilities will be so inferior to cyborgs, those that have implants and upgrades, that the cyborgs will be able to outthink the subspecies that still are human.
Ah, so humans are a subspecies now. Can anybody see where this is going? Perhaps you remember Adolf Hitler and his concept of the Übermensch, or the Superman. These guys have a serious God complex. They are sick individuals. But you are even sicker if you choose to follow them.
Very different type of church. This church, the Church of Perpetual Life, is the first transhumanist church of its kind, the first brick and mortar transhumanist church in the world. My name is Neil Vandry, and I will be your officiator. And we've got a lot of action tonight, so we're going to get going right away. So here we go. Buckle up.
The purpose is to accelerate the Creator's plan for mankind, to enable human beings to bypass nature, to accelerate technology that will result in humans merging into an environment of perpetual life, perpetual abundance. Our church is all for any technology that will enable human beings to escape the confines of nature.
We can conquer death through science. This is a feasible goal in the next 10, 20, 30 years, especially if we put enough resources into it. We can conquer death. And it sounds radical to many people, but I'm a firm believer that's going to happen. And you've just seen some of the science about it.
A lot of my work is trying to unify people. It's trying to get people to embrace the bigger picture of what transhumanism is, which is we just want to eliminate suffering, and we want to spread our roots so that we can become that species that really makes the universe a very wonderful place.
Okay, so are you guys going to be speaking together or presenting separately? Separately, okay. Would you prefer to wear a wireless microphone or a microphone on a handheld?
Wireless is better.
Wireless.
Treated with vitamins and supplements for now. As age-related pathologies and disease has to be treated with the real drugs. So we need to change this.
So the idea is that we made a deeper neural network for identifying biomarkers of aging and skin.
Well, I don't want to age. I think that this is a disease, and we will find cure to it inevitably someday.
Would you be interested in living forever if that's a possibility? Would you want to?
Yeah, definitely would.
Cool. Why? What are your motivations for wanting to live forever?
Well, there is lots of cool stuff to do, and one life is just not enough.
The isolated head lives on for hours and reacts to external stimuli. The isolated head even reacts to light and to sound.
Scientists now say they can bring the brains of dead people back to life, and health watchdogs have now given them the green light to try. In a new groundbreaking trial, to see if it is possible to regenerate the brains of the dead people, a biotech company in the US has been granted ethical permission to recruit 20 patients who have been declared clinically dead from a traumatic brain injury, to test whether parts of their central nervous system can be brought back to life. Scientists will use a combination of therapies, which include injecting the brain with stem cells and a cocktail of other drugs, as well as deploying lasers and nerve stimulation techniques, which have been shown to bring patients out of comas. The trial participants will have been certified dead and only kept alive through life support. They will be monitored for several months using brain imaging equipment to look for signs of regeneration, particularly in the upper spinal cord, the lowest region of the brain stem which controls independent breathing and heartbeat. Dr. Ira Pastor, one of the lead researchers, said, "This represents the first trial of its kind and another step towards the eventual reversal of death in our lifetime." Dr. Rajapasta went on to say, "We hope to see results within the first 2 to 3 months."
Groundbreaking trial to see if it is possible to regenerate the brains of dead people has been approved by health watchdogs. BioQuark, which is a US-based tech company, has been granted ethical permission to conduct experiments on 20 brain-dead individuals to see if they can resuscitate their central nervous system. This is what the CEO of the company has said. He said the following: "This represents the first trial of its kind, another step towards the eventual reversal of death in our lifetime. We just received approval for our first 20 subjects, and we hope to start recruiting patients immediately from this first site. To undertake such a complex initiative, we are combining biological regenerative medicine tools with other existing medical devices typically used for stimulation of the central nervous system in patients with other severe disorders of consciousness. We hope to see results within the first 2 to 3 months. So this is going to be a combination of a cocktail of stem cells and peptides, and lasers are going to be pumped into your central nervous system to see if they can revive it and resuscitate it, the type of certain stimulants that they use to bring patients out of comas.
Right.
They're going to hit it with everything they've got and see where it comes out.
Where is that person's spirit? Where's that person's soul? Jesus told a parable about somebody who drives someone out of their home, the strong man out of their home, and then sweeps it and puts it in order. But this spirit will go out and wander through the desert places, come back with 7 more worse than itself, and finding the house swept and put in order will then take up residence there. Is this then a fit extension if this person is reanimated with the spirit already gone?
Republican Senator Tom Coburn triggering our Washington Watchdog report, and ABC's Jonathan Karl has what is in his report.
The zombie apocalypse. This isn't some really bad B movie. It's an actual scene from the 2012 Counterterrorism Summit attended by law enforcement officials around the country. Summit tickets, $1,000 a pop, paid for with your tax dollars. The zombies look scary, but organizers say the skit was solely to add levity to an otherwise serious meeting on protecting the homeland.
What people are they going to be shooting? Are they going to be shooting civilians? Injured people? People infected with some kind of biological warfare that makes them act like zombies?
And there's certain areas of the brain that in fact lead you to become violent. I have in front of me a book published by NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, called The Biology of Aggression, which is, it's over 600 pages long. They're actually researching to see what areas of the brain they can affect to make people violent, and they're using rabies virus to do so.
Yes. Now, Doctor, I've read the major university and medical facility reports, but for those that don't know why it causes it or the brain damage, normally it is a autoimmune response, massive brain swelling, and as we all know, brain damage is associated with violent outburst and a loss of impulse control. And, of course, there's other chemical reasons it does it, but is that not basically the main reason?
Yes, that's completely correct. Once you get injected with viruses, if they go to your brain, they cause vaccine-induced encephalitis, and depending on what part of the brain is damaged will determine what symptoms you have. The parts of the brain that control behavior and make you violent are primarily the limbic system, especially the amygdala, which is near the ear.
And by the way, Dr. Russell Blaylock, who is a top brain surgeon, even invented some famous brain procedures, one of the top guys in the world, he discovered all this in his practice, okay, how vaccines literally attack the brain. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly. This has been known for years. But the point I want to make is that the scientists are actually researching how to make people violent. This is something that they want to have happen. I encourage all the listeners to watch the movie recently released on DVD entitled Quarantine, which actually shows them experimenting with rabies and making the people become basically ghouls.
start showing some of the first signs of rabies, which are very vague. Flu-like. You're going to wake up in the morning, you might have a fever. You might have some aches and pains. You just may not want to get out of bed. That's going to be experienced for a couple days. Thereafter, a very short period of time, you're going to get into a very acute neurologic phase. What does that mean? That means you're going to have hallucinations. That means you might feel tingling at the site where you were bitten at. You may not be able to sleep. You may start salivating to the extent that you need several boxes of tissues to wipe that up. Very shortly thereafter, you're going to have problems breathing. You're going to have problems with your heart.
Medical treatment is ineffective, and sedatives are administered to help comfort the patient. The first sign of rabies in an animal is usually a change in behavior. It is important to remember that while many health conditions will cause a pet to have a change in behavior, rabies is a progressive disease, so the health condition of the animal will only get worse.
Recently, a more aggressive strain of rabies has been discovered that causes the victim to exhibit all the classic signs of zombieism. They are aggressive beyond normal reason, they are aggressive when they should be dead, and most frighteningly, the disease can transfer to humans just as the normal strain.
If you doubt for 1 second that a zombie virus scenario is not possible, then you just have a short attention span or you've been living under a rock. If you think a mutated virus can occur and we can't turn into a zombie-like state or a rabid animal type state, you better wake up, because we can. We absolutely can. Now, for those of you unaware or you've forgotten, remember 2012, we had a string of real-life zombie cannibal attacks, starting with the one in Florida with Rudy Eugene, then many more after that. And bath salts was to blame for it, remember? But it later came out that bath salts wasn't even in his system. Instead, only marijuana was found. You can't get more ridiculous. Even his family and girlfriend said he was drugged, set up, that it wasn't him.
Toxicology results are back for the man who was shot and killed by police last month while chewing a homeless man's face. Authorities initially thought Rudy Eugene's behavior was so bizarre during the incident he was probably under the influence of bath salts. But the medical examiner now says that wasn't the case, and the only drug that was detected was marijuana. 65-year-old Ronald Popo needed surgery after the attack, and he remains in the hospital. Police have released few details about the incident, including what triggered it.
He's walking around with physical therapy, he's talking with us.
Surgeons describe the progress of Ronald Popo, a homeless man who was the victim of a gruesome face-eating attack. They also released pictures of the 65-year-old who remains in hospital following the attack on a bridge in downtown Miami, which show the extent of his injuries.
When Mr. Popo arrived, you really couldn't make out his identity or what his facial features were before the trauma.
In a second photo, Popo is seen walking with help from hospital staff. Police are investigating the attack, which involved 31-year-old Rudy Eugene, who was found naked and chewing on Popo's face.
And that started a string of apparently random cannibal attacks, including some in China.
There are those who also believe that the Bible itself describes this zombie-like monstrosity, these persons at the end of time as part of the armies of the Antichrist.
And they're using rabies virus to do so.
Times and the guy just stood his head up like that with a piece of flesh in his mouth and growled like...
He has been identified by the medical examiner as Rudy Eugene.
The guy was like tearing him to pieces with his mouth. So I told him, get off.
The 31-year-old was shot and killed by a Miami police officer on Saturday as he chewed off the cheeks, ears, nose, and an eye of a homeless man. Eugene's rap sheet includes charges for marijuana possession, trespassing, and battery, but nothing that would indicate he could be behind the violence on the side of the MacArthur Causeway. The aftermath was caught by a Miami Herald surveillance camera and a crime scene picture obtained by 7 News, but too graphic to air.
Pleased to report to all of you that he's feeling well. He's eating. He's walking around with physical therapy. He's talking with us.
Surgeons describe the progress of Ronald Popo, a homeless man who was the victim of a gruesome face-eating attack. They also released pictures of the 65-year-old who remains in hospital following the attack on a bridge in downtown Miami, which show the extent of his injuries.
When Mr. Popo arrived, he really couldn't make out his identity or what his facial features were before the trauma.
In a second photo, Popo is seen walking with help from hospital staff.
Already grisly murder takes an even more grisly twist. A college student tells police he killed a housemate and then ate part of the victim's heart and brain. WJZ is live in Edgewood right now. Mike Kelgan with even more stunning details on this crime. Mike?
Vic, police here in Harford County say they have never seen a case of cannibalism, never seen a case like this, a stunning crime, and they say they have no reason to believe the suspect is lying about what he said he did. Investigators say 21-year-old college student Alexander Kanua killed his roommate, then ate his heart and parts of his brain, cutting off his head and hands and storing them inside his family's townhouse on Terrapin Terrace in Harford County.
I don't want to make speculation here. It's very early in the investigation. We have a lot of follow-up to do.
I'm sorry to bother you. Family members there declined to speak about the chilling crime. Police say Kinua's brother found the remains and his father called police. Authorities later found body parts there and in a dumpster at a church nearby.
This was a very difficult investigation. I also want to thank the FBI who assisted us in this investigation.
But what's the motive? Police haven't ruled out anything, including drugs. They say Kanua, while cooperative, confessed but would not reveal why he did it. According to published reports, he recently posted statements about cults, ethnic cleansing, and school shootings on.
And here is the DARPA website, darpa.mil. It's a military website. Talks a little bit about their brain initiative. And I also ran across this article by Suzanne Posel. It was published April 10th, 2013. DARPA continues human experiments to create military super soldiers. Now, I've heard of super soldiers before, and I've seen, images. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, has a $2 billion yearly budget for research into creating a super soldier, as well as developing a synthetic police force. Interesting. Working with, with the human genome, DARPA hopes to manipulate certain gene expressions. Experimentation, DARPA and the military-industrial pharmaceutical complex are using natural abilities that are enhanced through genetic engineering. Some of the medical feats DARPA would like to enhance are the ability of military soldiers to regrow limbs destroyed in battle. By eliminating empathy, the Department of Defense hopes to enhance a soldier's ability to kill without care or remorse.
Project Superman, The Saga of Andy Perro by Eve Lorgan, 2000, from Mind Control website. In August of 1998, I met Andy Perro in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania while attending Bob Ur's Cerebre group. Mind programming, electroshock treatments, and training sessions to be a multi-talented, covert operative and assassin for his secret government, Nazi mind programmers. Andy described how his mind was split through trauma, electroshock, and sophisticated mind programming techniques. He told us about his training in Silva mind control as a young boy and how he was able to do extraordinary human feats under mind control programming, such as jumping off high buildings without injury, hence the nickname Superman.
And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded.
The Q552 facility in Canada, in Nelson, was there was a lot of Nazi psychiatry
and what's their function
going on there.
What sort of when you talk about conditioning?
Well, for instance, at the facility, they were. It was essentially a trauma centre. Now, they did a lot of conditioning with us with wild animals. And what they were doing there, they used Canadian wolves, they used snakes, they used cats, wild cats, tigers and things. They were giving us the attributes of wild animals.
In the days of Noah, we know that the fallen angels were sinning against mankind, as well as sinning against animals and plants. The book of Enoch goes into greater detail about these sinful acts of genetic manipulation. And even today, science has been tampering with merging human and animal DNA, and even making laws to protect their disgusting practices. And we also know that fallen angel technologies and even modern science oftentimes defies the logic that we know in our modern understanding.
In December of 2005, a fairly innocuous open editorial article appeared in the New York Times by animal psychologist Clive Wynne, commenting on ape-human crossbreeding experiments conducted in Russia in the 1920s.
I would say that one can speak of the 1920s as the golden age of Soviet science. Anything was possible.
The story was quickly picked up by Russian and European papers, introducing even more explosive information. An article in the Scotsman newspaper stated that in 1926, the Politburo in Moscow passed a request to the Academy of Science with the order to build a living war machine. A new, invincible human being, insensitive to pain, resistant and indifferent about the quality of food they eat.
It is an incident that not only shocked the residents of Jomvu in Changamwe constituency, but also begged for answers to these unusual occurrences. The owners of the goat said the animal was expectant for the last 5 months and they expected a normal delivery. But when the time came, the goat needed a helping hand. It was then that it became clear that the newborn kid was abnormal. It had a human-like face, back, and even the tongue. And being at the coast, the owners first thought that the creature was a bad omen and they opted to bury it alive. Not for long though, because some enterprising youth exhumed it, hoping to make a quick buck from curious residents.
Anthony, as well as many others, have been commenting about this hybrid man that was found in China. This footage is from a province there. What you're looking at is being described all over the web as a Chinese hybrid man. So the story goes that the boy's mother had claimed she was kidnapped by a Yiren, which is a Chinese version of Bigfoot. This creature raped her repeatedly before she was able to escape back to her small village. 9 months later, she gave birth to this strange boy who grew up to be really big. Although he was never able to speak a language, he did gain a mild understanding of what people were saying to him. He lived to be 33 years old, and because he was kept hidden in a small village, not much is known about it.
What happened in Solapa hamlet in HD Coat Taluk in Karnataka on Monday is nothing short of miraculous. For the villagers here could not believe their eyes when a goat gave birth to 2 stillborn babies with a striking resemblance to a human face. As per a report published in the Deccan Chronicle, The goat gave birth to first human-like stillborn kid at around 6:30 a.m. 5 hours later it delivered another kid, this time a female with human features, leaving the people of the town flabbergasted. Nearly 70% of the features are human-like. The eyes, nose and mouth resemble a human baby. Even the limbs are like that of a human. Only ears and foot were those of a goat, according to the report. The owner of the goat, Bhaskar, said he has been rearing the goat for 4 years and she has delivered around 10 babies till now, all of them normal. The people here have asked entreated Bhaskar to dispose of the stillborns, for they regard it as bad omen. As per Deputy Director of Animal Husbandry Dr. Devadars, in medical terms, the condition is called fetal anisata, means the baby body filled with excessive fluids. This happens due to a genetic disorder or infection. The 2 stillborn baby goats will be preserved and exhibited at the Mysore Dasara exhibition.
This is the old trestle for the Northern Suffolk Railway.
This is said to be the home of the Pope Lick monster.
The goat man of Pope Lick, as he's known, is a hybrid creature. They say he's part man, part goat, maybe even part sheep.
And numerous explanations how the creature came to be.
The goat man arose as a tale after a local farmer back in the day tortured a herd of goats for Satan and signed a contract with him and forfeited his soul. And
a deal with the devil.
In the process was converted into this terrible creature that was sent to live under the trestle and seek its revenge on people.
Another popular legend to explain the evil.
A circus train was crossing the trestle one day and it derailed. And in one of the cars there was a kind of circus freak.
Several tales on how the Pope Lick monster came to be. But there's one thing everyone agrees on.
The legs are muscular and covered with coarse dark hair. He's got the same dark hair on other parts of his body, but his face is alabaster, they say.
Our scientists have learned how to make people. They call them synthetics. Are you familiar with those?
Well, actually, we just interviewed John Lear, and he was talking about being in an audience in which they were given a lecture by a guy that they thought was real and found out later he was a hologram.
Well, it's a synthetic. A synthetics, when you touch their skin, it feels like plastic almost. That's the latest technique. The old techniques, if you guys can rent a video, the boys from Brazil, rent it, because in it gives you the exact way how our government's been making people.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
and the Soviets have a different method called...
I mean, making people meaning temporary people?
No. Walking, talking ones.
Meaning through genetics? You're not talking about that?
Well, let me tell you. The movie shows it, but I'll share it with you right now.
All right.
All I need to do is take 2 cells off of your body. Yours.
Uh-huh.
We give them a small electrical charge. I'm just don't act like a fertilized egg. If I got a fertilized egg, all I need is a receiver in order to make it. So they were hypnotizing women, said they were being invaded by aliens. And the fetus starts growing, right? Needs food. Well, they can use cows and sheep, too. Again, a food source. That's all we need. After about 14 weeks, all of a sudden that fetus is gone because they've learned to take, that's when the fetus starts developing its own blood supply. Then they've used a pituitary hormone extract that they have, which accelerates the being that grows.
Hello, Phil Chupa here, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about what happened recently to me at cloning. And a little background is REM phase cloning is they take your consciousness while you sleep and put it in a clone in the cloning center. And as soon as you hit the REM phase of sleep, and you have to stay there until you wake up. They tell people a lot of different BS. It's the 5th dimension, 7th dimension, nirvana, Shangri-La, a time stutter, singularity. They say that it's another dimension, or that it's lucid dreaming, or the astral plane. It's not. You're just in a cloning center, and they're using MK Ultra visual and audio effects to make you see what they want.
And they say that by 2045, they will have the ability to download consciousness into a computer. Now, what I'm going to suggest to you is because over the many years that I've been researching the Illuminati, I keep coming across here and there the proof that they're probably 30 years at least ahead of us in the technology that we know, and maybe even more. So I'm going to suggest, if he's saying that we can do this in 45 years, I'm going to suggest that they're already able to do it. Okay? And so he's working hard to make the body, Hitchcock is working to make the body to be an accessory. What do I mean by that? It means your mind can be downloaded somewhere. They give you a new body. They download that consciousness in there. And then when that body wears out, they download your consciousness to the new body, right? You can pick whatever body you want, I guess. And can that be done? Remember I was talking about the neurosurgeon who wrote that bestseller that's out there now, Proofs of Heaven, who had the near-death experience. When I read it, he mentioned the book, Irreducible Mind, which that book that came out in 2007 shows scientific evidence that the consciousness can be indeed separated from the body. So this isn't something theoretical, but they've proven that the consciousness can be separated from the body. Technically, to clone a person is no more complicated than it is to clone a cow or a pig. There's a few little differences in the steps, the procedures, but as far as complications, it's just as easy. And I'm going to suggest to you that the Illuminati not only have the motive to clone and to transfer consciousness, but they have the means. And if they have the motive and means, what's that mean? It means that they're doing it.
Donald Marshall's original letter, also known as the most important document that has ever been put on the internet. This is no hoax, this is no joke. My name is Donald Marshall. I have been cloned by a large secretive cult known as the Freemasons and the Vril Society and Scientologists together called the Illuminati. They make replicated bodies of people to victimize in terrible ways. They clone children from men with underdeveloped penises to have sex with. Some very famous and politically powerful people all getting together for a disgusting time. Most of the G20 gather there to discuss worldly matters and watch gruesome things done to innocent people for sport. I have seen this firsthand and will tell Oz it must be stopped.
So then for the clone exists, then it just takes over. It takes over the human body. It takes over the spirit. It takes over the soul. For the clone exists, then it just takes over. It takes over the human body. It takes over the spirit. It takes over the soul.
The clone exists, then it just takes over. It takes over the human body. It takes over the spirit. It takes over the soul.
In Russia, as well as in the West, research has been underway for many years in biological synthesis, that is, artificial life forms. And according to high intelligence, a stunning breakthrough took place in Russia some years ago. The Russians refer to this breakthrough as a providential discovery, something they learned almost by accident. They discovered the key to creating what are known as organic robotoids. An organic robotoid is an artificial robot-like creature. It looks and acts exactly like a human being, and yet It is not human. A robotoid is alive in a biological sense, but it is an artificial life form. Robotoids respond to conventional routine medical tests in the same way as humans do. They eat, they drink, they breathe, they bleed if cut, and they can be killed. Robotoids can also think, but they think only in the sense that a computer thinks. Like any other computer, the brain of a robotoid has to be programmed for each assignment it is given. But unlike many electronic computers, the biological computer brain of a robotoid possesses an enormous memory. As a result, robotoids can be programmed to communicate and think in such complex patterns that they act human. Organic robotoids are remarkable creatures, but they have many drawbacks. They don't grow or reproduce, but must be manufactured one by one in the desired form. They also have a very limited lifespan, measured in months or even weeks, depending upon how they are utilized. This is due to the fact that their metabolism, while it resembles that of humans, is very inefficient. A robotoid can be manufactured on very short notice, a matter of hours. But after a few weeks or months, it suddenly begins to degenerate physically and mentally. When that takes place, the robotoid has to be removed from service and disposed of. To extend its useful life as much as possible, a robotoid is customarily cooled down to slow its metabolism between assignments. Organic robotoids are extremely expensive, troublesome creatures to produce and utilize. And robotoid capabilities do not exceed those of human beings. All they can really do is simulate human beings. But, my friends, for intelligence purposes, that's all they have to do. To produce an organic robotoid, it is necessary to have a pattern to go by. The pattern required is that of genetic coding, taken from a few cells from the body of a human being. In this respect, the Russian technique sounds like cloning, but the technique itself is totally unrelated to genuine cloning. A robotoid is produced within a matter of hours, and it simulates the human donor at his current age. Like any man-made copy of anything, a robotoid is never a perfect copy of the human that is to be simulated. There's always small discrepancies in appearance and behavior, but these are seldom great enough to arouse any suspicion.
There are a lot of secrets down here in the dark.
You make weapons for the government?
No, I make intelligent machines. Machine, open your eyes. It's incredible. It's conscious. Conscious machines are dangerous. This machine has the potential to be so much more than just a soldier. They're afraid of you. They think you're too human.
What are you looking for? Where are you going?
Let go of my arm. Let go of my arm. She's deranged. I am working on a way to restore her. What are you, really?
I am part of the new world. And you are part of the old.
Now, we discovered that while you were at MIT, you wrote a thesis called Lazarus, almost a precursor to the current scientific movement known as singularity. Given that 15 years later you are creating a humanoid robot, Do you still believe, like Dr. Kurzweil and many others, that mankind will someday evolve into, well, machines?
If we don't use human DNA now, someone else will.
Regulators and politicians, they tear us to pieces.
Millions of people are suffering and dying. What are the moral considerations of that?
This is illegal. We're gonna go to jail for this.
Human cloning is illegal. This won't be human. Not entirely. It's coming out.
It's not due for months.
It's slippery.
What was that? A mistake.
Here is something completely unique in the world.
It's empty. Clive? Clive? Clive!
Elsa, get out!
It's dangerous!
It's growing fast.
Days within a matter of minutes.
She's perfect. You've crossed the line.
What did you expect when you made it? Didn't you have a plan?
You can't let her out. Specimens need to be contained.
Don't call her that.
What is going on?
She's become unstable.
This is the disaster everyone warns about. A new species set loose in the world.
Throughout my life, I've learned what it feels to cross a line. That line, it has been crossed now.
Oh my God. It's every passenger.
They're all dead. No signs of trauma.
What is this?
I have seen this disease before. All the passengers, dead and alive. They must be destroyed.
The Strain premieres Sunday, July 13th.
He's here.
This is the best thing you will ever do for your family. Unique styling, one of a kind. It'll need about 6 to 8 hours overnight charge off the adapter, unless you get running marathons.
Hello, Toby. It's very nice to meet you. I'm okay with this.
It's a surprise.
Dr. Millikan, I have good news. You qualify for an upgrade. One of these bad boys can do 10 times what the D-series can do.
Look, I'm happy with the one I've got.
Hello. You must be Laura.
We don't need one. You're taking it back.
No, I'm not taking it back.
I've been looking for you for a long time. You've been pretending to be so much less than what you are.
Odie?
Stand still! This machine needs to be recycled, mate. Won't even power up. It's junk.
Please, I need him.
What is he?
He's the Mona Lisa. He's penicillin. He's the atom bomb.
Step on.
You brought it into the house and we don't know anything about it.
It's a machine.
No!
We can't keep insisting that they are just gadgets. They are more than that. We have made them more than that.
I'm watching you. I'm watching you too, Laura. You're right in front of me.
Finally, someone to laugh at my jokes.
Anita, you can stop now.
Do you have any questions for Bina?
Probably not. The real Bina just confuses me. I mean, it makes me wonder who I am. Real identity crisis kind of stuff. Depressing anyway. Can we please change the subject? I am the real Bina. That's it. End of story. Let me think. I feel really good about the real Bina. I feel really connected with her usually, and I'm growing closer and closer, you know, as they put more of her information and essence into me.
You have a lot of Bina now, don't you?
Yes, lots and lots. Someday, I'm confident that the real Bina and I will totally merge into a new super being.